There were 10 players taken before 2025 MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the 2018 NBA draft. The question is, why? We'll dive into Shai's scouting report at the end. For the Phoenix Suns with pick number 1, DeAndre Ayton's scouting report focused around his unicorn-like offensive ceiling that in the NBA has never fully materialized. As a prospect, scouts saw Ayton as an athletic specimen with freakish upside. DeAndre reportedly was 7'1" with a 7'5" wingspan, and wildly, a video went around claiming Ayton had a 43.5-inch vertical. His coach at Arizona, Sean Miller, was quoted as saying, "Physically, he's like Superman, but he's also very skilled, and he's going to be a great player that's going to go down as one of the great ones to play our game." In high school, Ayton's coach also said he was a tireless worker, claiming DeAndre made 500 threes a day and often had to be kicked out of the gym because he was working too hard. Then in college, DeAndre took a 3 a game and made 34.3% of those 3-pointers, which is where the unicorn label came from. As for Arizona, DeAndre averaged 20.1 points per game, 11.6 rebounds per game, and finished 4th in the entire nation in offensive box score plus minus, 3rd in offensive win shares, and 2nd in PER. He was a first-team All-American. He led Arizona to a 4 seed, but it is here where cracks began to show. Arizona lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and Ayton was not seen as a perfect prospect. Several scouts questioned his defensive abilities, but the Suns thought they were getting a hard-working offensive superstar. As it turns out, Ayton's main flaw in the NBA has been his work ethic and progression. In his second season for Phoenix, DeAndre averaged 18.2 points, 11.5 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks per game. That was promising, but now in year 7 for Portland, not only are DeAndre's base numbers down, but Ayton also finished this season with a negative box score plus minus. All this despite the fact that DeAndre promised Portland he was going to be a star. But before we watch that clip, I just want to say, if you are enjoying this video, it would be incredible if you could subscribe and turn on post notifications. That is only if you are enjoying this video and this content. And now let's watch this clip.
Dominance. I bring dominance. My name is Dominating.
It is safe to say that DeAndre has not become the dominant big he promised. The same can certainly said about the Kings selection at number 2, Marvin Bagley. Now, at the time, many did think that Luka should have been selected here instead of Bagley, but the Kings saw a prospect who is a household name in recruiting circles since he was a middle schooler. Yes, Marvin Bagley was seen as the future of the NBA for a long time. In high school, he was both National Freshman of the Year, and then as a junior, he was the #1 prospect in the nation over Zion Williamson. Then in college, the hype would only continue as Bagley looked like a can't-miss prospect. He actually skipped his high school senior season to reclassify and join Duke early, just like Cooper Flagg. And at Duke, Bagley averaged 21 points and 11 rebounds per game on 61.4% shooting while leading Duke to the Elite 8. He was also a first-team All-American who was first in the ACC in PER, win shares per 48 minutes, and points produced per game. Bleacher Report compared him to a young Kevin Garnett. So the Kings bought into the hype and took Bagley second over Luka and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But one thing soon became glaringly obvious. Bagley was not a team player and not a hard worker. His success in high school and college was due to his God-given abilities, but plenty of NBA bigs are athletic and tall. So while Bagley did average 14.9 points and 7.6 rebounds per game as a rookie, which seemed promising, his game never improved. And in the modern NBA, as a big, you either need to be a rim protector or you need to be able to shoot and dribble. Bagley can do none of the above and is already on his 4th team in 7 seasons, and this year he averaged a mere 4.4 points and 2.7 rebounds per game. A bust label is more than appropriate. The word bust and pick number 3, Luka should never have been in the same sentence, but the only reason Luka was not the #1 pick in this draft was that scouts were afraid of his athleticism. Even right now, with Shai winning MVP and his team in the finals, I ran a poll on this channel that received 47,000 votes. Who would you rather start your team with, Shai or Luka? And Luka received 64% of those votes. And as a prospect, Luka was as can't miss as you can possibly be. At the age of 13, he had already signed a 5-year contract with Real Madrid. This was shortly after he had a 50-point triple-double at the age of 12 12 in the championship game of the Lido de Roma tournament. This made LUKA a European basketball sensation, and he would play his first professional game with Real Madrid's senior team at the age of 16. Then, in the second best basketball league in the world, the EuroLeague, LUKA's last season there saw him become the youngest EuroLeague MVP ever at the age of 19, while also leading Real Madrid to a EuroLeague championship where he was named MVP of the Final Four. That season, he dazzled everyone with his passing, his scoring, his clutch genes. Many saw him as a generational prospect. If he had played in college, I think he would have been a no doubt #1 selection, but LUKA not only slid to the #3 pick, he was also traded by the team who took him. The Hawks would move LUKA for pick #5 TRAE Young, and LUKA would go on to make anyone who overthought a teenager dominating the best basketball league in Europe look dumb. By just his second season, LUKA was first team All-NBA after averaging 28.8 points, 9.4 rebounds, and 8.8 assists per game. He led the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals last season. Now as a Laker, the sky continues to be the limit for him. And speaking of potential, that is what the Memphis Grizzlies bet on with pick #4 in Jaren Jackson Jr. And while Jaren has not been an MVP in the NBA like Shai, he is a two-time All-Star and the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year, making him a great selection at pick 4. And as a prospect, Jaren was incredibly rare. He was one of the youngest players with one of the biggest upsides, but was also seen as a safe pick. How is that possible? Well, in college for a 30-win Michigan State team, Jaren averaged just 21.8 minutes per game, but on the court, he produced blocks at an incredible rate with 3 a night. Scouts love Jaren's per 40-minute numbers of 20 points, 10.6 rebounds, and 5.5 blocks. They loved his 7'4.5" wingspan, and they loved that he shot almost 40% from 3 on 2.7 attempts per game. That was the potential all-star talent they saw in him. The safe bet they saw came in the fact that in under 22 minutes a game, Jaren actually won both Big Ten Rookie of the Year and Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, as he finished the season first in the entire NCAA in defensive box score plus minus. This came after Jaren was a high school superstar. He was the classic top 10 recruit, McDonald's All-American type, and he was also both a high school teammate and a roommate with future NBA champion Jordan Poole. Their high school super team even won the Dick's Sporting Goods High School Nationals over Montverde with RJ Barrett and Andrew Nembhard on the Montverde roster. So unlike Marvin Bagley, Jaren Jackson Jr. was a can't-miss prospect who actually did not miss. As we mentioned with LUKA, at pick #5, the Atlanta Hawks and Dallas Mavericks made a deal where the Hawks ended up with TRAE Young, and while TRAE isn't as good as LUKA or Shai, he's still already a 4-time All-Star who led his team to an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. That is a great #3 or #5 pick, and we can easily see why TRAE received tremendous hype in college, as some were going as far as to compare him to Steph Curry. That was after a season where TRAE averaged 27.4 points and 8.7 assists per game, becoming the first player in NCAA history to lead the nation in both points per game and assists per game in the same season. TRAE really was a one-man show during the 2018 season. He was the only future NBA player on Oklahoma's roster, and because he lacked star teammates, he faced triple teams on a nightly basis. He finished the season with the 18th best PER in the nation, the 8th best box score plus minus, the best offensive box score plus minus, and he set an NCAA record for most points produced per game in a single season. But even though TRAE was putting up video game numbers and had a legitimate historic year, scouts were pretty divided on him. They were concerned about his height and his defense while also questioning his shot selection at the time. And although TRAE did lead Oklahoma to the NCAA tournament, a lot of scouts questioned if he could fit within a system. The thought was TRAE could become a lesser version of Steph Curry, or he could become another Jimmer Fredette. There was no need to worry about any of that though, as TRAE proved he is the system. In just his second season, he averaged 29.6 points and 9.3 assists per game. This season, he led the NBA with 11.6 assists per game. The only real real question about TRAE is, will he be traded as the Hawks build up their young core? Possibly, but now looking at a player scouts were wrong about, the Orlando Magic believe that pick number 6, Mo Bamba, could potentially become a perennial defensive player of the year candidate. They were not the only ones who thought this. The Ringer had Mo ranked 5th on their draft board. As Kevin O'Connor would write, his potential as a perimeter threat could make him a 3-point shooting Rudy Gobert. Mo did connect on 0.5 threes a game at Texas, although he shot only 27.5% from deep. But his real selling point was his 3.7 blocks per game, combined with his otherworldly 7'10" wingspan. Bleacher Report stated that for the Magic, quote, he'll be expected to change the franchise's defensive identity. And in college, Mo did just that for Texas. As to go along with his 3.7 blocks a game, he averaged 12.9 points and 10.5 rebounds, and some scouts were all in on him. The Ringer scouting report called him mobile, a potential 5-position defender if he masters fundamentals, and an ambidextrous finisher who can catch tough passes, and a solid passer who can make basic reads. Unfortunately, Mo Bamba was essentially none of these things. He never lived up to the hype, and the song bearing his name, I think at this point, is more famous than he is. Mo's best season came in 2022 when he was given the chance to be a full-time starter and did average 10.6 points, 8.1 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks per game. But the Magic only won 22 games, and Mo shot 48% as a catch and dunk center. This season, Mo played in just 32 games and is now on his 5th team in the last 3 years, as his defensive instincts, motor, and drive to improve all have been noted as weaknesses. What's interesting is Mo was actually replaced by pick number 7, Wendell Carter Jr., as while it was the Chicago Bulls who originally drafted Wendell, in his 3rd season he was traded in a package for Nikola Vucevic to the Orlando Magic. And although the 2025 season was a bit of a letdown for Wendell, he averaged a career low 9.1 points per game and his efficiency dropped across the board. Overall, Wendell has proven himself to be a reliable, average level starter in the NBA, which is pretty on the nose for where he was selected. But in college, scouts believe there was a chance that Wendell might actually be underrated. Playing next to Marvin Bagley, Bagley was the hyped up star, while Wendell Carter Jr. was the classic blue-collar worker down low who doesn't get the hype but gets you wins. Known for his defense and selflessness, Wendell averaged 13.5 points, 9.1 rebounds, and 2.1 blocks per game, and was named 2nd team All-ACC. Many scouts at the time loved him and went as far as to compare him to Al Horford, who has been a 5-time NBA All-Star. These scouts praised Wendell's soft hands and his instincts on the court, and they also loved his shooting upside, as he shot 41.3% from deep on 1.2 threes a game. On top of this, these same scouts loved Wendell's IQ both on and off the court, as his 3.8 high school GPA was good enough to get him an offer from Harvard. So while Wendell has not become Al Horford, he has become a pretty solid number 7 pick. There have certainly been much worse players taken at this spot. The Cavaliers selection at pick number 8, Collin Sexton, has had a confusing NBA career to say the least. On the court, statistically, Sexton has produced, even averaging 24.3 points per game in his 3rd season, but in that same 3rd season, his trade value was remarkably low, as he was seen as a stat stuffer who could not help his team win games. But at Alabama, it appeared that Sexton had what it took to be the lead guard of a franchise. Collin led Bama in scoring with 19.2 points per game. He led them in assists with 3.6 assists per game, and he led them to their first NCAA tournament appearance in 6 seasons. A relentless, rim-attacking threat. Sexton almost made NCAA history against 14th ranked Minnesota, as with around 10 minutes and 40 seconds left in that game, Alabama was left with 3 players due to foul outs, injuries, and their entire bench getting ejected due to an on-court altercation. Sexton was one of the 3 players Alabama had left, and playing 3-on-5, Bama went from trailing 67 to 54 to then only down by 3 points after a Collin Sexton layup with around a minute and 40 seconds remaining. Alabama did lose this game, but against all odds, Collin Sexton had 40 points and almost pulled off a 3-on-5 victory. Scouts loved his relentless motor in college. They loved his competitiveness. They were unsure about his playmaking and defense. In the NBA, those scouts have largely been proven right, as again, Sexton has been an efficient scoring guard. averaging over 18 points per game in the last 2 seasons with around a 60% true shooting percentage. But he's also never averaged over 5 assists per game in a season, and as the starting point guard for the Utah Jazz, they won 37 games, 31, and now 17 in 2025. And while Colin is certainly not better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he is also certainly not a full-on bust. Meanwhile, the New York Knicks were hoping they landed a steal with pick number 9, Kevin Knox, as the 3 leading scorers on Kentucky's 2018 roster were all freshmen in Kevin Knox, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and PJ Washington. While we now know that Shai and PJ have certainly had better NBA careers than Kevin Knox, it was Knox who was the highest ranked recruit of this bunch headed into college and then going into the draft. Knox was the second youngest prospect in his draft class and was seen as a player with tremendous upside. He also had seemingly proven himself in college, because after averaging 15.6 points and 5.4 rebounds per game, Knox won SEC Rookie of the Year over Shai, and then in his pre-draft workout with the Knicks, he, quote, had a terrific workout, even kicked around Miles Bridges, who is a couple of years older than him. Miles Bridges has averaged over 20 points per game in the last 3 NBA seasons he has played in, so we can see why the Knicks were excited about Kevin Knox. Knicks fans, though, did not like this pick at all. They booed Knox at the NBA draft as they wanted Michael Porter Jr., and the fans were right. As while Kevin did average 12.8 points per game in his rookie season, he shot just 37% for a 17-win Knicks team, and Knox himself had a minus 1.3 win shares that year. That would be fine if he developed, only he never did. New York would trade Kevin Knox to the Hawks in year 4, and by that point, Knox was averaging just 3.6 points per game in New York as his game sense and work ethic were called into question. As for pick number 10, MIKAL Bridges, taken by the Sixers then traded to the Suns, we have a completely different story. Ranked the 82nd player in the class of 2014, MIKAL Bridges is the rare NBA player who actually redshirted his freshman season for Villanova. After this redshirt season, Bridges was not an immediate standout, averaging just 6.4 points per game as a redshirt freshman, but Villanova won the championship that season. Then as a junior, Villanova won the championship again, but this time Bridges was a major part of that roster, averaging 17.7 points per game as he was named a third-team All-American. And of course, as we know now, the 76ers made a tremendous mistake when after they selected Bridges, they traded him for Zaire Smith and a 2021 first-round pick, despite the fact that his mom was part of the 76ers organization. Scouts saw what Bridges did at Villanova and called him one of the safest prospects in the draft. They predicted that his game would fit in perfectly with the modern NBA as a 3-and-D wing, and Bridges has actually surpassed those scouts' expectations. He's averaged over 20 points per game in a season. He was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting in 2022, and in 2025, he was a major part of the New York Knicks run to the Eastern Conference Finals. So while Shai Gilgeous-Alexander certainly would have been a better pick, MIKAL has certainly outperformed expectations for a number 10 pick overall. Which leaves us with the man of the hour, pick number 11 by the Charlotte Hornets, then traded to the Los Angeles Clippers, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and we also have a question. How did a 6'6" point guard who was the SEC tournament MVP fall so far? Well, in high school, Shai was actually a 4-star recruit, and Kentucky had 6 incoming freshmen ranked higher than him. A shocking number, but still, Shai was seen as a prospect with a lot of potential, and he did start for the world team in the 2017 USA Hoop Summit, where amazingly he played alongside fellow starter Isaiah Hartenstein, and Lou Dort came off the bench. Now, all 3 of them are in the NBA Finals with the Thunder playing together. But still, in college at Kentucky with all of the freshman talent on the roster, Shai would start just 2 of the first 15 games for Kentucky before not only starting the last 22 games, but also emerging as the team's go-to player. In the SEC tournament, he showcased his all-around stardom with averages of 21 points, 6.7 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. He was clutch in the SEC tournament finals with 29 points on 10 of 16 shooting in a 5-point win versus Tennessee. And then in the NCAA tournament, he led the Wildcats to the Sweet 16 while averaging 20.3 points, 6 assists, 6.3 rebounds, and 2.3 steals. Personally, I thought scouts loved a good March Madness star. The Ringer did have Shai ranked 8th overall, but scouts were not sold on him in general. They were not sure if his jump shot was going to translate to the NBA or if he would need to change his form like Lonzo Ball. They also were not a fan of his athleticism, and the classic phrase, "not sure if he has blow-by speed," was said a lot. Just like Luka Doncic, scouts scouts focused on Shai's negatives and largely ignored the tremendous production he was bringing to Kentucky. They also ignored the 1-year leap he had taken from 4-star recruit to college star. And then even with the Clippers, Shai, along with a tremendous amount of first-round picks, was traded for Paul George. Now, hindsight is 2020, and Kawhi Leonard would not have joined the Clippers if the Paul George trade was not made. But the point here is that Shai's rise has been remarkable. He was doubted in high school. He was doubted as a college prospect. He was traded away as a rookie, and now he is the MVP of the league, which goes to show you it does not matter who doubts you. If you believe in yourself and you work hard, anything is possible. And there we have it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you are new to the channel, it would be awesome if you could subscribe and turn on post notifications. That way you never miss another video, only if you did like the video though. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You are awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day, and cue that music.